I'm going to use 3 strips of purple color to make a tight coil. And whenever you join the paper strips, it is good to apply a very little bit of glue at the very tip so that the paper strips or the tight coil doesn't look bulkier at some spots. If you doesn't bother about that perfect look, then it is okay. So when they are all done adhering together, now I am going to roll it into a tight coil using my slotted tool. Just keep rolling and rolling. This is the normal speed which it works. So it will take a little bit of patience. This is how quilling works. So even though the supplies were not that expensive, you need a lot of patience. So here I am done, and now I'm just making sure it's tight enough and then gluing them down. When you pull the strip to make it tight, make sure it is not like 100% tight, which will come with practice. So a little bit of tightness will do good. So now it's done, and I will be needing the same 3 strips again for making my next tight coil. So now I'm using my favorite motorized quilling tool. So this makes the work very much faster. And then it's done. So now I'm again pulling out the corner, the tip of the paper so that it's tight enough, and then I glue it down. And now I'm using my quilling tool, or you can use anything cylindrical, to roll over the coil so that it's perfectly flat, which makes sure that the dome we are going to make is also perfect. So this is the mold on which I'm going to make a dome shape of my coil. I just place my tight coil over one of the dome, which will be approximately same size of the coil. And then using my quilling tool sides, I just roll it over the coil. So this makes the dome to be smooth and round. And this half of the dome will be the base of the egg. See, you can see a perfect finished dome. Using the next tight coil, I will be making a dome in a similar way, and then I also use my fingers to push it even more deeper so that it becomes tapered. And nowadays even molds which come in the shape of cones are also available, which will make this process much easier. And of course you can just manipulate the whole thing only with your fingers if it doesn't have the mold. So it works in all the ways. Both these shapes together will make our egg. So you can see them how perfectly they are smooth and perfect to the shape we want. And then I apply more glue to the inside of these shapes. I then put them down to dry. When they are completely dry, I can attach them together to make the shape. And in this, I am using the finishing part of the strips where you can see the finishing lines. I just glue them together in the same spot so that one of the side is only having those markings and the other sides are left just like that. It is just to give a neat look, otherwise it's not mandatory. Then I apply a layer of glue over the corners or the rim and then glue them both together. You can even use a smaller strip of paper so that it goes just in the middle of these joints to make it even more stronger. It is not essential, but you could do it too. And when it is glued, we can allow it to dry. Here you can see two different sizes of eggs. The difference is made by using 3 strips for the purple one, and I have used only 2 strips for the yellow one. And now I'm going to do the same with a shade of pink. I'm going to make the video faster so that you can see the whole procedure, which I'm going to do again the whole way. When you have enough number of eggs that you will wish in whatever color you want, now it's time to make the basket. So for the basket, I am using some darker brown color paper strips for making my basket. And then I'm going to arrange them one below the another. For this, I am going to use a masking tape to hold the strips. I'm placing about 10 strips next to each other, and this is going to be the height of the basket we are making. So when you want it to be smaller or shorter in height, you can use only few of the strips. So it's up to you to decide the height. So when you want the basket to be taller, you can make it much bigger, by using more number of strips. So now when I'm done placing them all, I'm going to use a darker strip of brown. I'm weaving this chocolate brown strip through these strips that we have already arranged. I let the paper up and down on alternating strips so that the basket is weaved. Using a tweezer makes this work much easier than doing it with my fingers. Also make sure to leave some space above and below these so that it will be easier for us to complete our basket. For the next row, I make sure that there is a space between the two chocolate brown strips. This gives a different look to the basket. It is up to your convenience if you need it closer or if you want to give space like as I did. It is up to you. They both give a different look, so you can choose your preference. This also makes my work to be much faster in finishing the basket, so I just try to leave more space between them. As I make the next rows, I make sure the distance between each strips is almost equal. Once it is complete, I'm going to use a thick board for the base. I'm not going to weave the base part because that is even more trickier, so I want to make sure that the process is much easier. So I use a thick board and cut it out into a rectangle piece like this. So now I will be measuring with the same strip to make sure that the length of my basket. If I need more strips, I can add to the side, and when it is ready, I can peel off the masking tape to use it further. I turned the papers upside down because that side looked a little bit like the wrong side of the paper, so I just turned it upside down. And for the first darker brown strip, I am going to bend it so that I can complete the weaving to be neat. So I apply glue only to the first light brown strip and then fold it back and close it. So this makes the top layer of the basket to be firm. When it is completely stick, the next step is to fold back the chocolate brown strips that is going to be on the top side of the basket. So in this way, I can make sure that the basket top layer is just complete. The rim part of the basket is complete. You can notice that in this strip, the top first layer brown is not enough, so I have an extra space. So to fill that, I'm taking a smaller piece of darker brown and then stick it over the remaining place where it is left incomplete. Now I'm going to bend the top chocolate brown strips downwards. Bending them all along the corners makes sure that my work is going to be easier. So then I am going to apply glue only to the first two lines along each of these strips as shown in the video. So this is where the chocolate brown strips are going to get stuck once it is done. Once I apply glue all along the way, now it is time to bend them and make them stick together. Once they are stuck, we can get the next topmost layer of the quilling strip and then glue them back over these to reinforce the stickings that we have done. So this will make it perfect. Now I'm cutting down the extra strips that we have folded and glued so that it gives a neat finish. Once the top part is done, you can see that it looks neat and perfect. As last time, here also you can see that's a corner space that is left because my brown paper is not enough, so I take a small bit of dark brown to fill that space and then cut the excess of the chocolate brown paper strips. I used the base to bend the corners at the right places. When it is ready, I can now stick the base to the lower part of the weaved paper sheet. Start from the broadest side so it is easy to work with. The next steps are easy. You can just glue the lower parts to all the sides of the base and add on another similar piece to the base to hide off the paper glues. Then on the part where two corners of the weaved sheet joins, I'm going to make it neat just by pulling the paper strips through the other strips so that it makes a continuous shape of the basket, just as shown in the video. It takes a little bit of time, and of course the real way to weave a basket, a rectangular basket like this, is a bit different, but I use this technique for this video. But of course there are even other easier ways. If you already know how to weave a basket, the other ways may be even more easier, or you can come out with even more easier solution for making this. So when I did it all, I just cut off the excess papers and it won't be seen from the outside. It will be neat. Also, you can notice that the height of my basket is too big, so I just tuck in the extra things in the inside. And now for the handle, I use some 4 strips so that it's made into a curve like that are inserted to the sides of the basket, and I take a long strip of another paper that I roll around or wrap around the handle part so that it looks neat. Now I'm going to make something to fill inside the basket, some grasses. So for this I use some green papers that I had. I'm using 2 different shades of green, and then I just cut them into like some V shapes, and the grass is done. Now you can arrange the eggs and the Easter basket is ready. If you like today's video, give a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.